Thank you for tuning in to the Secure Your Energy Show, where we have real live conversations with real life people. Our show explores the solar and energy storage market. I'm your host, Michael Gibson, and my company is Fortress Power. The Secure Your Energy Show airs bi weekly on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. If you would like to be a guest on our show, email us at sales@fortresspower.com, hashtag Secure Your Energy Guest. My next guest is Hizs. He's the Senior Advisor to Ethiopia's Ministry of Water, Irrigation, and Energy. Uh, he leads and supports energy policy, project development, and power sector reform initiatives at MoWie. He comes from the U.S. private sector, has strong leadership and entrepreneurial background in the energy and aerospace industry. He was the founder of Renewable Energy, company that achieved significant technology milestones. So we got a good show planned for you today. Let me bring him on. His, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing very well. I thank you for hopping on with us today as we talk about a few things. I'm very excited to have you because as we were just talking in the background, I learned a lot. A lot is just such a short amount of time here. So what I want to talk, my first question that I wanted to ask you, of just I'm gonna start with this. How did you get into the renewable energy and solar, and what does that mean for the continent of Africa?
Thank you, Michael, and thanks for having me. Um, so I actually started my career in the U.S. Worked for large companies like United Technologies and GE, both in the renewable energy sector as well as aerospace sector. And I got into renewable energy from my last work on wave energy at a company called Ocean Power Technologies, and then realized that the developing world has a significant problem, energy problem that needed to be tackled. The basic energy issue of electricity access. So that's really how I got into developing renewable energy systems, and specifically solar-based systems.
Now, you say you were in the United States, and you got all the way to, I must say, the big continent of Africa. Because a lot of times we describe it like it's just a small place. It's a very, very big place. Now, you hail out of Ethiopia. I know that's where your operation. You do a lot of stuff there. How did you choose that specific area?
Um, I guess it's more of a background. I'm originally from Ethiopia. I was born here. Moved to the U.S. at age 16. Finished high school there and went to college and grad school, and then did about 18 years of professional work there before I moved back here to Ethiopia to help the energy sector of the ministry.
So this is really like a heart passion for you. I'm kind of
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
coming back home and doing some things and helping out, your country. So tell me
Giving back.
about, yeah, giving back. Tell me about renewable energy in Africa in general. Can you describe it for us here?
Yeah. So I'll start with just energy access in developing countries. So when you look at developing countries, you look at Africa, Southeast Asia, um, and some perhaps Latin American countries, uh, economic advancement is really measured by electricity access. So worldwide, nearly a billion people don't have access to electricity. In Africa, it's about 600 million. So almost 60% of the challenge in reaching people, making sure they have access, is in Africa. So that was one of my main really focus, is that how do we ensure that people achieve this access? And given that Ethiopia has second largest population, it was a no-brainer, me being originally from here, to come and help here. So that's really the problem that we're trying to solve. When we look at Ethiopia, for example, only 33% of the population has access to grid electricity, and now close to 11% what we call off-grid or distributed energy. So in total, there's only about 45% of the population that has access to electricity. We still have more than 50%, or to be accurate, 55% that does not have access to electricity. So that's the basic problem that we're trying to solve.
So hold on. You said a mighty big number, and I just want to make sure that people grasp it. How many people are in the dark?
When you look at, I will start with Ethiopia. So Ethiopia has 110 million population. So nearly 60 million people don't have access to electricity. When you
Wow.
go, well, that's 10% of Africa. Africa is about 600 million. So it's a significant problem. And and the challenge moving forward is also, as we develop these power systems, we have to make sure they're renewable energy based, solar, wind, so on and so forth, because not developing non-renewable energy based power systems really hurts the planet, and we know all the issues with climate change in Ethiopia and mostly in general Africa as part of the Paris Agreement on climate change. So how do we make sure that we develop reliable and sustainable systems with renewable energy? And that's where solar and battery and energy storage comes in.
So tell me a little bit about your organization that you started. I mean, it's a wonderful title. It's very big and powerful. Tell me a little bit more about that organization as the minister of what's this water irrigation and what was it? What's the E stand for?
Energy, yeah.
Energy. So tell me a little bit about that organization. A little bit
Yeah,
more.
well, I am not the minister. I advise. Um, so what we do is we're tasked it is to achieve universal electrification, meaning everybody has access to electricity or is connected to some form of electricity. So with that, we created a plan. We call it the National Electrification Plan that sees the country connected in two different ways. One is via the grid, which we all know, the national grid, expanding that from the 33% that it is today to 65%. And the other solution that we see is off grid, or what we call distributed energy. That is about 35% of the population, or close to 40 million people. So, this is the overarching um, program that we're trying to implement over the next 5 years. And we have actually allocated a budget of nearly $7 billion for us to achieve this. Um, and basically, that means that we need to raise lots of funds. We need several technical solutions, specifically in the solar world. When we look at the grid expansion, we have solar, wind, geothermal. These are the three main power sources that we're looking at. But when we look at off-grid or distributed energy, which is the 35% of the population that we're talking about, that's purely solar because that's the most cost-effective and also easily deployable, easy to maintain, and so on and so forth. So we have a very big program. We've syndicated close to $860 million so far out of the 6 or 7 billion that we need, and we expect to see a lot more as we move forward.
Now, when it comes to, raising funds for your organization, how do you guys do that? Is that achieved?
That comes from several institutions. One of them is, of course, the World Bank. All multinational institutions provide financing for us. What's called soft loans or concessional loans, basically long tenor and low interest rate loans that are available to renewable energy institutions. Sorry, developing countries for the most part.
So can you tell me about some of the projects that you guys done? Like what are some of the systems that you guys use to employ to get, you know, it off the ground? I know you said solar, you said geothermal. Um, So and when I think it was, you have a lot of things going on to make that happen. Like, how do you even start? It seems like such a big monumental feat to even bring electricity to that many people. Where do you start? Like it just I didn't realize that there were so many people without power. I'm being very very serious. Being that I'm
Right.
in the states, we are energy hogs, so to speak.
Right.
We have TVs everywhere. Everything is powered. So I couldn't imagine, being governed by the sun in the sense that the sun goes down, I'm without power. Like that doesn't compute to me. So how did you even? Where do you start? Like how do you start?
So that's why we divided into two areas, right? Um, the first is the grid expansion that we talked about. With grid expansion, we were focused on, like I said, geothermal, wind, and solar. So that's an area that is well defined. But the off grid is an area that is new, or the distributed energy. So what we've done is we actually laid out the entire country as to where people live relative to the infrastructure that we currently have. So the substation, power generation stations, and figured out what we need to achieve or to reach those people, right? So it's a detailed planning that's been ongoing for a few years, but finally now we have come to the implementation phase where we have completed 12 mini grid. We call them solar mini grid um, power stations across 12 villages and towns, and we're in the process of constructing additional 25 for a total of 37. So, and the idea really is to scale that to over 2,000 towns and villages that will need similar energy solutions.
So your mini grid systems, your solar grids, that's the image that you gave to me. I want to bring that up. I know that some people may not catch this live now, but I want to give the people an idea of what we're talking about um, with the grid. It just this is just to me. I just love this. I just really love
Yeah.
this because it's like you're doing such a service for people. So in this image that we're looking at, just can you give a brief description of what we see in this picture?
Yeah. So this is in the eastern part of the country. This is one of our mini grid solutions. So when mini grids are isolated power systems that are not connected to the grid. So what we do is we do a load assessment, or basically a demand need of a specific site or a specific village, and then that system is designed accordingly, and then deployed based on the standards that we see fit. So the mini grid consists of three major subsystems. As you can see in the picture, there is the PV or solar installation, like a small solar farm. You also have the energy storage, or a battery system that actually takes that energy and stores it, because at night you don't have any uh, sunlight, so you don't have that solar power coming in. So basically, the battery stores it. And then the third backup system is the diesel generator. So what happens is the PV, or the solar cells, or the solar panels, provide power during the day, and also store the energy, excess energy that they produce, into the battery system. The battery system picks up at in the evenings around 6 or 7 p.m., and then provides power until it's needed. And when both the battery and PV are not available, the diesel generator kicks in. So it's a backup system only for times when you have a very cloudy day, or consecutive cloudy days, and you don't have enough energy to deliver to the load.
So when we look at your systems and what you're doing, I know you kind of touched on this before, but I wanted to bring it up just to highlight it so we can talk about it again. Um, what is the electricity access rate in Ethiopia? I know you talked about a lot of people, we gave some numbers, but let's just kind of go over that again so that everyone that's watching now or later can kind of get an understanding of that.
So the electricity access rate right now, we divide it into two areas. One is grid, the other one is off grid, or people that are not connected to the grid. So the on grid access rate is about 33%, and the off grid access rate is about 11%. So for in total is 44%. So there are, um, when you look at the numbers, Ethiopia's population is about 110 million. You take 55% of that, you get close to 60 million people that don't have access to electricity. Big number.
Big, big, big number. So when I go home, I'm gonna tell my kids this tonight too. I'm gonna tell them you, you I'm a good
You'll be very
dad.
happy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you should you should be very happy because you have access to this, and I'm not mean that in a joking manner. I'm just saying, it's just stuff that you never think about, as things that you can take for granted, just having access to electricity, and even just having access to just going solar. I mean, where I live at, I see a solar farm every time I drive past. It's very common. You know, I see in Atlantic City area where I'm at, there's a wind farm on a casino. So we see all these type of things. So just imagining a world that doesn't have that,
Right.
still to me is kind of mind blowing. Now, if this doesn't work, it is working, but if it doesn't work, what are some of the social implications of not getting more people connected to electricity?
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. I think it has a huge social implications um, when you look at access to electricity, because so electricity is needed for basically everything, right? You can't really do much without electricity. Electricity is needed for reading, studying, for kids who are going to school, and cooking, any livelihood, really, any productive use. You need electricity. So people who don't have access to electricity, they're really deprived of all these, basic solutions that will help them really advance socially and economically. So when you look at it from the social aspect, most of these people use kerosene lamps, for example, for lighting, and that has huge implication in terms of health because they'll be ingesting those fumes. And also, it's very dim light, which hurts your eyes and basically in the future cause some eye health issues. So these are some of the basic social implications of not having um, electricity access, and I can also talk about the economic implications, right? When we look at that, like we have something called productive use, for example. Uh, if any business wants to run, for example, a bar, they need refrigerators, access to entertainment or information like television and all of that. So, really, it's the foundation of development. It's the foundation of really livelihood. So, one of the things that we're doing, for example, is Ethiopia has nearly 85% of its population is are farmers. So, what we're working on is how do we make sure that farmers are not waiting for rain to do farming? So we're trying to tie energy access or energy into agriculture. We call it energy agriculture nexus, and we're creating irrigation systems where people can farm 3 to 4 times a year. And when you look at 85% of your population, um, being 3 or 4 times productive, you're going to have that much effect on the GDP of the country. So energy is not just light bulbs or lights, but it's also the foundation for economic development.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because you know, during this national era that we in, and you're in the house a lot more. I actually was just looking up at a movie on Netflix. It was called "The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind," and it was just talking about this very topic of being able to get irrigation, to different parts of the country on during the dry seasons. So what just on a climate basis, what are the seasons where you're in Africa in terms of like the rainy season, the dry season? Like how long does that last typically? He might be a little frozen on me. He'll come back here. Did you hear the question? Well, as he is coming back, I was essentially just trying to ascertain, when does the rain come in terms of length of time, the dry season,
The time
because
frame.
yeah.
Yeah, it's about June is when it starts, and then August, September it kind of ends. It's like the exact opposite of the summer times in the U.S. So summertime in the U.S. is like, call it winter here, rainy season here, and fall, um, spring and winter is the dry season.
So what can we do? um I know we only got 30 minutes to talk about this, and we're almost done, but what is the message? What one message would you like to let the people know that we can do? I mean, I know you're doing a lot, but what is one thing that we could do to kind of get the tide rolling even past where we are to make this type of change? Because there's social impacts, there's economic impacts, and when you look at all of the impacts, it can be devastating to not have electricity. So what one message or what main point would you like to relay as we draw close to this today? We got to bear with his internet connection. I think he's coming back up right now.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah, did you hear my question that I asked? I see you there. I
Okay,
asked.
okay.
I asked. You froze.
Another problem we have is some internet connection as well here. So for your viewers, please bear with us.
So what I was asking, what main point would you like to get out? What are some lasting impressions would you like to leave with our audience as
So
we
what we really want to do is it's all hands on deck, right? We're looking for companies that have or that have developed really high end technological solutions, efficiency, cost cutting, anything that will help us achieve our targeted universal electrification goal. So we're going to have upcoming a lot of engagement on pilots and engaging the private sector and developing mini grids. So far, we've done it with the public sector. So we'll be seeking solutions as well as developers that will bring in, a system level solution. Uh, we'll be looking at, you know, um, investors that are interested in investing in this space. Really, we have a very, very big problem, which is solvable, but we need all the technologies and the advancement that has happened in the world in this space, specifically recently over the last few years in the battery and PV space, to make sure that we make this a reality. In a way that it's nice when you have 55 more than 50% of the population that don't have access, then you can start working on solutions that are futuristic as opposed to, 100-year-old the grid solution. So we're excited. We want to bring in everybody to the table and help us achieve this goal. So we'll be interested, like um, companies like Fortress Power, the solutions that they have for example, for energy storage system. We'll be looking at inverters. What are some of the solutions in this space that could help us cut cost? For example, like there are solutions that are required for the solar inverters for the solar and inverters for the battery. There's a potential to combine those into one and cut cost. So we'll be looking at that as we come along and deploying this at scale, right? We've only done a few towns now, about 37 towns, but we have identified towns close to 3,000 that would like to reach using the solution. So, and as cost comes down, actually that number that I said earlier, the 65-35% split, the 35% is getting bigger and bigger because uh, as distributed energy is actually becoming a lot more cost effective than the grid. So that's changing the equation as we move forward.
So how would someone contact you or get in touch with you? Like what can I put on here or at least attach in this live? Because I think you are a real hero, and I'm not saying that to fluff you up. What you're doing is phenomenal, and it's a real making a real impact. A lot of people talk about heroes, and in our country we just had the Super Bowl, and we talk about how great that is. But what you're doing is really great and phenomenal. Like I said, I couldn't imagine not having electricity. We take it for granted with even with just a simple nightlight for my kids and things like that. But how will somebody reach you? What information if somebody wanted to be a part of this or give into this? How could they reach you?
Um, so the formal way of reaching us would be via email, and also we can put up our phone number. We have they can use WhatsApp. LinkedIn is really the best medium for us. Hopefully, we can post this live interview as well on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media. We want to get the word out so that as many people are engaged, both from supporting with the technical solution, as well as really even supporting a family or two that are least fortunate. Basically in providing access, right? So um, we can list some of the email, phone numbers, and social media feeds.
Now,
Um,
what would be the specific name that they would be looking under to find you? By your name or by the company?
uh, we have a feed on, I believe, on Facebook for Ministry of Water, Irrigation, and Energy. I can send that link out. Also, yeah, they can reach me directly on LinkedIn or um, Instagram, Facebook,
Okay, well, I will
and,
definitely
and
post your
Twitter. I
links.
guess there's Twitter too. Yeah,
Twitter? Oh, you tweet?
I don't tweet much, but you
Okay,
know,
I say don't get banned. Don't get banned. I don't want you banned. We need you. We need you. Don't get banned. I'm just playing, y'all.
yeah.
I'm only
But
playing.
LinkedIn is really our medium. Our main medium is LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I definitely appreciate. I've learned so much. I mean, it's first. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for just coming on and sharing your story. This definitely will be on LinkedIn. You'll get access to all of this information. But wow, just the electrification process on the continent and specifically in Ethiopia where you're at. I mean, it's an admirable thing that you're doing, and I'm glad that you followed your heart. Because a lot of times we don't always follow our heart and do the right thing. We do what is the easiest, expediest thing for us. So I just want to commend you because, like I said, it's amazing. Any closing words as we begin to wrap up here?
I would like to thank you, Michael, for bringing me on. I'd like to thank Fortress Power. And you said one important thing at the end. It was important for you to follow your heart, and that's exactly what I've done. I think it was not an easy decision to move from the U.S. to here, but I think it was the right decision because a short life that we're given, and I think it's an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of many. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you for stopping by. And definitely, I will put all your information in the links when we share this. But I greatly do appreciate it, and hopefully, this won't be the last conversation. I look forward to speaking to you again and just checking on some of the progress. Because, like I said, to me, this is just a phenomenal thing that you're doing. For those of you that have been watching us today, we thank you for tuning in, for watching us. But you've been watching the Secure Your Energy show. I'm your host, Michael Gibson. If you would like to be a guest, please send us an email at sales@fortresspower.com. Hashtag secure your energy. Topic guest. I want to just personally thank all of you for viewing. Please just share, like, and subscribe to our channel to get more information. But I want to say thank you for for popping by. In our topic, we just was talking about some of the things that was going on the continent of Africa, specifically Ethiopia. Please reach out, support this gentleman. Like I said, I will put his links in the comments here on this video so that we can get this out, because this truly is a hero. This is what we call heroic. Just to think that there's billions of people without electricity. So I thank you, Hizz, again for stopping by. And this is Secure Your Energy Show. And have a wonderful rest of your day.